You are standing outside, maybe in a car park, maybe in your garden, maybe just waiting for someone on the street. You look up, and there it is, a thin white line stretching across a perfectly blue sky, left behind by a plane you can barely see. You have seen this your entire life. You probably never stop to ask why. It seems obvious. The plane leaves smoke behind. Exhaust, like a car. But that is not what it is. Not even close. And the real explanation, once you understand it, will change the way you look at the sky every single time you step outside. To understand what those white lines actually are, you need to start with what jet engines actually do. A modern aircraft engine works by pulling in enormous quantities of air, mixing it with fuel, igniting it, and expelling the result at tremendous speed out the back. That expelled gas is extremely hot, often exceeding 600 degrees Celsius at the point of exit. It contains water vapor, carbon dioxide, and tiny particles of soot and aerosols from the combustion process. On the ground or at low altitude, this exhaust simply disperses into the surrounding air and disappears. You never see it, but at cruising altitude, typically between 8,000 and 12,000 meters above sea level, the surrounding air is a completely different environment. The temperature up there can be as low as -60 degrees Celsius. The air is thin, dry in some places, and surprisingly humid in others, and under entirely different pressure conditions than anything we experience on the ground. The contrast between what comes out of the engine and what surrounds the aircraft at that moment is almost impossible to overstate. When that searingly hot exhaust gas hits the near-frozen air at altitude, something happens almost instantly. The water vapor in the exhaust cools so rapidly that it condenses, and then, just as quickly, freezes. What you are seeing from the ground is not smoke, it is ice. Millions upon millions of microscopic ice crystals, forming in a fraction of a second, suspended in the upper atmosphere, catching sunlight and reflecting it back down to your eyes as a bright white line. The technical name for these lines is condensation trails, contrails for short, and they are, in essence, artificial clouds. Clouds made not by weather systems or ocean evaporation or the slow movement of air masses, but by machines passing through the sky at nearly the speed of sound. Each contrail begins forming within meters of the engine exhaust and can extend for hundreds of kilometers behind the aircraft before it finally begins to fade. But here is where it gets genuinely fascinating. You have probably noticed that contrails do not always behave the same way. Some days a plane crosses the sky and leaves a line that fades and disappears within seconds. Other days, a contrail spreads slowly outward, grows wider, and lingers for hours, until it is barely distinguishable from the natural cloud cover around it. This is not random. It tells you something precise about the atmosphere at that altitude on that particular day. When the air at cruising altitude is dry, the ice crystals that form in the contrail evaporate quickly. The line disappears fast. But when the air is already close to saturation, meaning it is holding nearly as much moisture as it can, those ice crystals do not evaporate. They persist, they spread, they merge with other contrails and drift across the sky, forming broad flat sheets of cloud that can cover entire regions and remain for the rest of the day. Meteorologists can actually use contrail behavior as a rough indicator of atmospheric humidity at altitude. A sky full of long, spreading contrails is a sky with a lot of moisture in the upper atmosphere, and sometimes an early sign that weather is on its way. Which means that those white lines are not just beautiful, they are readable. If you know what you are looking at, the sky above you is telling you something. So the next time you look up and see that white line cutting across a blue sky, you are not looking at pollution trailing behind an engine. You are watching physics happen in real time. You are watching water freeze in less than a second, 7 miles above your head, catch the sunlight on the way down, and quietly influence the temperature of the world below. That is what Common Wonders Revealed is here for. The ordinary things around you are never as simple as they appear. There is always a reason, a mechanism, a layer of science hiding just beneath the surface of everyday life. If this changed the way you look at the sky, hit like and subscribe, because we are just getting started.